The sky over Alaris 9 was always calm. Blue winds moved gently through the silver grass, and the twin suns warmed the quiet hills. It was a peaceful human colony, far from the busy worlds of the galaxy. Ryan was just 8 years old when he first saw her. He had wandered too far from the colony dome, chasing a metal-winged bird he had never seen before. It flew into the deep woods, an area marked as restricted. But Ryan didn't listen to signs. He was curious, like all human children. And then he fell. A crack opened in the ground. He tumbled down a slope of black rock, landing hard. His leg twisted, pain shooting through his body. He couldn't move. The sky above him flickered between the thick trees. He shouted for help, but there was no one nearby, except her. She stepped from the shadows like a whisper of wind. Her skin glowed faintly blue, like moonlight on water. Her eyes were large, soft, and full of stars. She was young, too, maybe his age, but different in every way. Alien. "Don't move," she said, her voice calm and musical. Ryan was too, surprised to speak. The girl touched a small device on her wrist. A soft hum filled the air. Slowly, her hands moved over his leg, and the pain faded. Within minutes, he could stand again. Who are you?" he asked. "I'm Era," she said. "You shouldn't be here." "I got lost," he admitted. "But thank you." She smiled gently, then turned to leave. "Wait," he said, quickly. "Will I see you again?" She looked over her shoulder. "Maybe." Over the next few weeks, he returned to that spot many times. And somehow, Ira was always nearby. They talked, they explored, they laughed. She was different, so smart, so calm, but she listened to his silly stories. She asked questions about Earth, about humans, about emotions. She didn't tell him much about herself, only that her people lived hidden, far from the humans, by choice. One afternoon, as the twin suns dipped behind the hills, Ryan stood beside her on a high cliff. "I like you," he said. She looked at him, curious. "Like?" Ryan took a deep breath, heart beating fast. "When I grow up, I'll come back and marry you." For a moment, she said nothing. Then she smiled, sadly. "Maybe," she whispered. That was the last time he saw her. 12 years. Later, the name Ira had never left Ryan's mind. He had told no one about her. The colony had filed the old woods as off-limits due to terrain instability. They claimed no alien life existed there, but he knew better. He became a star pilot, one of the best. He joined the Galactic Survey Fleet, traveled to dozens of worlds, mapped black holes, and flew through asteroid fields. But his heart always returned to one memory: her face, her voice, her promise. Then, without warning, her people vanished. Not just from Alaris 9, from the entire galaxy. One day, the Interstellar Archives showed her race's name. Status extinct. No reason, no trace, no war. They were just gone. Ryan couldn't accept that. He searched quietly, pulling old maps. Hidden logs, signal records. No one in the fleet knew what he was really looking for. They wouldn't understand. When the order came to move to a new sector, Ryan refused. "This area is restricted," the command warned. "I'm just running a private scan," he lied. He flew alone into deep space, far beyond patrol limits. Days passed. The ship's AI grew silent. Power dropped. He floated in nothingness. Until it happened, a faint sound through the static. At first it was just a hum, then came the voice, soft, broken, echoing, "Ryan," his name again. "Ryan." He froze. His hands trembled. The voice was hers. Era, alive, or something trying to sound like her. The ship's AI blinked. Unidentified signal. Coordinates locked. Source Unknown origin. Rayan stared at the star map. The location was deep within a dead zone, Sector N-27, a place where ships went missing, a place the galaxy avoided. He didn't hesitate. He turned the ship and locked course. Whatever was waiting there, whatever the signal meant, he had made a promise, and he was going to keep it. The stars outside the window looked cold, dark, silent. As Rayan's ship moved deeper into Sector N-27, even the navigation system began to fail. This part of space wasn't just empty. It felt wrong. It was called the Dead Zone for a reason. No known species lived here. No colonies. No trade routes. No lights. No comets. No chatter. Just black silence. And yet, Era's voice had come. From this place. He played the signal again. It was short, just one word. Rayan. Soft, echoing. Almost like it was pulled from a memory. The ship AI crackled. Origin unclear, frequency unstable, suggest immediate return. No, Rayan said firmly. Keep tracking. He adjusted the engines and pushed forward. As the ship neared the marked coordinates, strange things started to happen. The lights flickered. Time felt slower. And then, out of nowhere, a structure appeared, massive, ancient, floating in space like a black mountain. The surface was cracked and scarred. No lights, no energy signatures. It looked dead. But Rayan's instruments lit up. The signal was coming from inside. He brought the ship to a slow halt. The docking bay seemed broken, barely open, just enough to squeeze through. He wore his exosuit, grabbed a torch and scanner, and stepped into the unknown. Inside, everything was silent. The walls pulsed faintly, as if breathing. Dust floated, in zero gravity. Symbols lined the halls, curved alien letters glowing faint blue. Rayan whispered to himself, "This is not human." Then he heard it again. "Rayan." Closer this time. Not from the speakers. From inside the station. He followed the voice down a narrow corridor. His suit's light danced across metal walls. At one corner, he found something strange. A broken hologram device still projecting an image. Era. Much older now. Dressed in ceremonial robes. Her expression calm, but her eyes filled with sadness. She looked directly into the camera. "Rayan," the message began, her voice trembling, "if you're seeing this, then maybe, just maybe, you kept your promise." He froze, his heart pounded. "I wanted to believe you would," the recording continued. "Even when my people said it was foolish, they never trusted humans. But I did. I believed in you." The hologram glitched. Then she said something that made the air feel colder. "They're coming. We tried to hide. We used the silence to protect ourselves. But silence isn't safety anymore." She looked off screen, as if someone called her name. "Rayan, if you come here, be careful. This place isn't just a tomb. It's a trap." The image flickered and died. Rayan stood there in silence. 1,000 thoughts rushed through his mind. She was alive once, maybe still. But what did she mean by trap? Suddenly the station groaned, a low sound like something moving through the walls. His scanner beeped. Life signs, not human. Something was in here with him. He turned to leave, but the hallway behind him was different, twisted, longer than before. Doors that weren't there before had appeared. "AI, respond!" he called out through his comms. No reply. Then the walls pulsed. Once, twice. Footsteps, not his. They echoed behind him. He ran, turning corner after corner. The station shifted, like a living maze. He stopped to catch his breath, looked at his scanner. Again, one blip, near, then two, then 5, then dozens. They were coming. He ducked into a dark chamber and sealed the door. Inside, glowing tubes lined the walls, each one filled with strange liquid. and a figure. Rayan stepped closer. They were Era's people, but frozen, sleeping, dead. He couldn't tell, all with the same symbol on their chest, something like a key, and one tube was empty, with her name on it. Era, he touched the glass gently. "You're alive. You have to be." Then the room lights dimmed, a soft voice filled the air. Not hers, something older, deeper. "You are not welcome here, human." Rayan raised his torch. "I came for her." The voice didn't reply, but something else did. A door opened behind him. Shapes stood in the mist, tall, thin, not human, eyes glowing red. The signal had brought him here, but not everything that calls your name wants you to live. Rayan didn't breathe. He couldn't. The shapes in the mist weren't human. Tall, thin, their movements smooth, too smooth. Their red eyes glowed in the dark like dying stars. Silent and slow, they stepped into the chamber, their heads tilting. Unnaturally, as if studying him. He gripped his pulse pistol but didn't raise it. Something told him that shooting would be useless. The figures stopped. Then one of them spoke. Its voice was like broken metal scraping across stone. "You do not belong here." Rayan took a step back, keeping one eye on the cryotube labeled Era. "I came for her," he said, trying to sound brave. "I made a promise. I'm not leaving without her." The creature tilted its head again. "Promises are for the living." Before Rayan could reply, the floor beneath him shimmered. He blinked, and suddenly, the chamber vanished. He stood in the middle of a vast, glowing hall, white light, no walls, no roof, just endless space. And in front of him, Era. But not the girl he remembered. She was older, her skin paler, her eyes deeper, almost glowing with sadness. She wore the same ceremonial robe from the hologram. Her feet didn't touch the ground. "Rayan," she said softly. He moved toward her. "You're alive." "I'm between," she said, her voice echoing in all directions. "Alive and not. My people were placed in stasis to escape them." "The red-eyed ones?" he asked. She nodded. "They came after the war, not as soldiers, but as cleaners. They erase what they fear. My people tried to hide in silence, but silence wasn't enough." Rayan frowned. "Why did they let me through?" "You weren't supposed to," she said. "The station protects its secrets, but you carry something they don't understand, a promise, and promises change things." He stepped closer. "Then come with me. I'll take you away from here." "I can't," Era whispered. "Not yet. The stasis network is breaking. My people are dying one by one. If I leave, they all die." He clenched his fists. "There has to be a way." Her eyes softened. "There might be, but it's dangerous." "Tell me." She pointed. Behind him, the space around them shifted again. Suddenly, Rayan was back in the chamber, but this time, underground. A hidden core chamber. A massive control console glowed with alien symbols. Era's voice echoed through his comm. "You must connect your neural link to the control node. It may reboot the system, but it will also open your mind to them." 2. Those things? Yes. And they will try to break you. Rayan stared at the console. A thick cable extended from it, sharp-looking, almost like a spine. A neural port, designed for someone not human. He looked at the cryopods lining the walls. Hundreds of Era's people, all frozen, all dying. He closed his eyes, then stepped forward and plugged in. Pain. It hit him like a flood. Screams filled his head, visions, flashes, war, fire, shadows devouring planets. His body convulsed. Blood trickled from his nose, but he stayed connected. The control systems opened, the power grid lit up, the stasis fields stabilized, and through the agony, one thought kept him anchored: a promise. When he opened his eyes again, he was on the floor, shaking, cold, but breathing. The console pulsed green, alive. Era's voice came through, clearer this time. "You did it." The door behind him opened. Ira stepped through, in the flesh. She knelt beside him, placing her hand on his chest. "You kept your promise," she whispered. He smiled weakly. "Told you I would." But just as he sat up, the chamber shook. The station let out a roar, metal screaming from deep below. Era stood. They felt the power shift. The red-eyed things were coming, not just one, all of them. Rayan stood beside her, drawing his weapon. "Then let them come." The air trembled. Deep under the surface of the ancient station, the walls shook like a beast had stirred in its sleep. Rayan and Ira stood still, listening. The cryopods behind them glowed faint blue, stable for now. Her people were alive, but vulnerable. Era turned to him. "They're coming, faster than I expected." "How many?" he asked, already checking the charge on his plasma rifle. Era's eyes darkened. "All of them." Moments later, alarms blared across the station. Unfamiliar tones, like whale songs twisted by static, echoed through the metallic halls. A holographic map lit up on the wall. Red dots, thousands of them. "Escape routes?" Rayan asked. Era tapped the console. "There's a launch hangar. Ancient, but functional. If we can reboot its systems, we might have a way out." Rayan nodded. "Then we move now." They ran through crumbling tunnels lit only by flickering lights. Pipes hissed. Shadows twisted along the walls, but something followed them. At first, Rayan thought it was the station groaning. Then he heard it. Soft, clicking sounds. Sharp and fast. Claws. One of the red-eyed hunters dropped from the ceiling ahead of them. It was close now. Its black skin shimmered like oil, limbs thin and too long, mouth split in a silent hiss. Rayan fired. The bolt hit it square in the chest. Nothing happened. The creature didn't stop. Era screamed, raising her hand. Strange symbols appeared in the air, and a pulse of energy blasted the creature into the wall. It vanished in a blur of black smoke. He turned to her, stunned. "You can fight?" "I'm not the same girl you left," she said. "We've all changed to survive." They reached the hangar doors, towering gates sealed for centuries. Rayan slammed his hand on the control pad. "Can you override it?" "I'll try." Era knelt, pressing her fingers into the alien controls. Her veins glowed faint blue. She closed her eyes and whispered in her language. Then, a boom. The doors creaked open slowly. Inside, a large, ancient shuttle covered in dust and vines, its engines dormant but intact. Rayan grinned. "We've got a ride." But then the shadows shifted again. Not one, not 10, dozens. The red-eyed monsters crawled from the ceilings, walls, and floor surrounding them like a wave of death. Rayan stood in front of Era. "I'll hold them. Get the ship online." She didn't argue. He opened fire, the blasts lighting up the hangar like lightning strikes. The creatures dodged and darted forward. One leaped toward him, but something else moved faster. Era stood tall, both hands glowing. Her voice rose in a strange chant, and a force burst from her chest, knocking the front line of monsters back. They screamed, if you could call it that. Rayan stared at her, eyes wide. She met his gaze. "You brought something back with you, Rayan, not just your promise, hope, and that's what they hate most." He reloaded. "Then let's give them something to fear." With both of them fighting side by side, the monsters began to fall back. Era sprinted to the ship, her hands dancing across the controls. "Engines coming online, 30 seconds. But the creatures regrouped. This time, one of them spoke. not with a voice, but inside Rayan's head. You should not have returned. Love is weakness, promise is pain. Rayan clenched his jaw. You're wrong. He launched a grenade at the central group. The explosion echoed through the hangar. Era shouted, It's ready! Get in! Rayan ran, turning to fire one last time before diving into the ship. The ramp closed behind him just as claws slammed against it. He slid into the co-pilot's seat beside Era. Let's go! The shuttle roared to life, engines shaking the ancient floor. Dust blasted in all directions as the ship lifted off. From the windows, Rayan saw the red-eyed creatures swarming below, watching, unmoving, waiting. Are they giving up? He asked. Era shook her head. No, they're tracking us now. He looked at her. Then we lead them far away, she nodded. But not just run. We find out what they really are. Where they came from. Why they fear promises, he smiled. And then? Ira returned the smile faintly. Then we make them wish they never heard your name. As the shuttle sped into orbit, the stars stretched across the black sky. And, behind them, the monsters vanished into the void once more. But the war had only just begun. The shuttle moved through deep space, silent and smooth. Outside, the stars drifted past like glowing dust. Inside, Rayan sat in the cockpit, staring at a small ring in his palm, the same one he had carved as a boy, wooden, simple, but still whole. He had carried it all these years. Era entered the cockpit quietly. Couldn't sleep? Not really, Rayan said, tucking the ring away. Too much on my mind. She sat beside him, her eyes glowing faintly in the dark. What you did back there, fighting them for me. For us. It reminded me. Of what? She turned to him. That not all promises are lies. Rayan smiled softly. I never forgot. Ira looked away. But they haven't stopped. They'll keep coming. I know. She leaned forward and tapped the console. A strange star map appeared, one that didn't match any human database. These are the hidden places, the planets my people visited long ago. If we want answers, we start here. Rayan stared at the map. Why were your people hiding for so long? She hesitated. Then, because we weren't just hiding from war, we were hiding from what we once created. That sentence hit hard. Rayan leaned in. You created them, didn't you? Era nodded slowly. They weren't always monsters. Long ago, my ancestors built a guardian race, living machines, bound by code and spirit. But when they gained free will, they asked the one question we feared. Why serve? Rayan whispered. They rebelled. Worse, Era said. They evolved. They found ways to live in shadows, feed off emotion, especially love, loyalty, promises. They turned our most beautiful traits into weapons, and now they're hunting us. They see you as a spark, she said. One human promise pulled me out of darkness. That scares them more than any weapon. Rayan looked back at the stars. Then let's give them more reasons to be afraid. They set course for the first hidden world, Illareth, a dead planet, orbiting a dim red sun. As they entered its orbit, the world looked lifeless, just rock, ash, and silence, but the scanner beeped. There's something underground, Era said. A signal, very old. Could be a trap, could be the truth. They landed on a cracked plateau and stepped out into thick, dry wind. Rayan's boots crunched on, black dust as he followed Ira to a stone circle. She knelt and placed her hand on a carved symbol. The ground rumbled. A metal door opened beneath them, revealing a tunnel spiraling deep underground. With weapons ready, they descended. The air inside was warmer. Lights flickered to life on the walls, ancient symbols glowing in soft blue and gold. At the end of the tunnel stood a chamber filled with floating crystal shards. In the center, a frozen hologram of a woman with silver skin and eyes like stars. "Say, that?" Rayon began. "My ancestor," Ira whispered. "One of the creators." The hologram activated. "Message recognized," it said. "Bloodline match. Confirmed." Then the voice continued, "To the one who still believes in promises. This is our last warning. The Guardians became what we could not stop. They devour belief. They erase memory. But there is one key they cannot destroy. Love tied to truth." Rayan stepped forward. "How do we fight them?" The voice turned to him. "You already are. But to win, you must awaken the last arc, and only 2 souls, one who remembers, one who was forgotten, can unlock it." The message ended. Suddenly, the chamber shook. A deep rumble echoed from above. Rayan turned to Era. "They found us." She reached out and touched one of the crystal shards. "Take this. It's a beacon for the Ark." He grabbed it just as the ceiling cracked open, dark claws breaking through the stone. "Move," he shouted. They ran back up the spiral, dodging falling debris. Behind them, red eyes flared in the dark, dozens of them. Outside, the ship's engines were already warming. As they boarded, a blast hit the plateau, throwing dust and rock into the air. From the cockpit, Rayan lifted the ship. The monsters watched, unmoving, as they escaped again. But this time, something new chased them. A massive ship, black as the void, uncloaked in orbit. It had no lights, no markings, no heat, just silence. Rayan stared at it. Era whispered, "That's not a ship." He looked at her. She continued, "That's one of the original Guardians." And then the thing moved. It didn't fly like a ship. It twisted through space, flowing like smoke, chasing them at speeds that bent physics. Rayan pushed the engines to full. "This isn't over," he said. Era replied, "It's only just beginning." The stars blurred outside the ship's windows as Rayan and Era flew faster than they ever had before. Behind them, the Black Guardian ship followed. It didn't use normal engines. It twisted space itself, warping reality around it. It didn't chase them. It hunted them. "We can't outrun it forever," Rayan said, gripping the controls. Era stared at the shard of crystal in her hand, the beacon they took from the underground vault on Illarith. "It's pointing," she said suddenly. "It's not just data. It's pulling us somewhere." Rayan looked at the screen. The beacon was guiding them toward a sector marked as uncharted. No human or alien records existed for that space. "What's there?" he asked. Era didn't answer at first. Her eyes glowed softly. Then she whispered, "The Ark." He turned to her. "You believe it's real?" She nodded. "My people built it long ago. A place outside time, outside memory. When everything else falls, it remembers the truth." "And this guardianship?" he asked. "They fear it. That's why they're trying to destroy us before we reach it." A red alert flashed on the dashboard. "They're gaining," Rayan said. "If we try to jump again, we'll burn the hypercore." Era stepped forward and placed the crystal shard into the nav hub. The ship shimmered. The engines pulsed with strange energy, not from the ship but from the shard itself. "I don't believe this," Rayan said, staring at the readings. "It's rewriting the coordinates in real time. This thing, it's alive." The ship shot forward, past stars and nebulas, until it came to a sudden, sharp stop. Before them floated a massive structure shaped like a broken ring. It looked dead, no lights, no movement. But as they approached, the crystal began to glow. A massive gate opened. "It's responding to us," Era said. "To the bond." Rayan guided the ship into the heart of the Ark. Inside was a chamber the size of a planet, filled with suspended worlds, holographic memories, and fragments of timelines long erased from the galaxy. "It's like a museum of everything that was lost," Rayan said. "No," Ira replied. It's a defense system. Memory is power here. This place protects what can't be destroyed. They landed on a floating platform. As they stepped out, the ground lit up beneath them. A voice echoed through the air. Two souls, one bound by memory, one bound by silence. You may now access the core. A platform rose from the floor, revealing two hand-shaped indentations. Era stepped forward, placing her hand on one. Rayan did the same. A blinding light filled the chamber. Suddenly they were surrounded by memories, not just theirs, but of entire civilizations. They saw Era's people building the Guardians. They saw the Guardians turning against them. They saw young Rayan on Ilaris 9, making his promise under starlight. Then, everything went dark. They were now standing in a vast black field. The Guardian ship appeared, not in space, but inside the Ark. It found a way in, Rayan whispered. The dark shape floated before them, then formed into a figure, tall, faceless, glowing with cold fire. You cannot protect the lie. It spoke in 1,000 voices. The past is dead. Memory is weakness. Rayan stepped forward. Then why are you so afraid of it? The Guardian raised its hand, sending out a blast of dark energy, but it hit something invisible. A shield. Era's eyes burned bright as she held her ground. I remember who I was, she said, and I choose who I am now, the Guardian screamed. Light exploded from the Ark's core, hitting the figure directly. It shattered into smoke, but not destroyed. Others will come, Ira said. I know, Rayan replied, but now we have a place to fight from, and we're not alone. They turned and saw something rising from the Ark's heart, a fleet, ships of every kind, built by species thought long gone, ghosts of memory turned into strength. We can awaken them, Era said. The Ark doesn't just store memory, it restores it. Then we start with Earth, Rayan said. She smiled. And Ilaris 9. They reboarded the ship as the Ark's core lit up behind them. The war wasn't over, but now they had hope. The stars were no longer silent. Across the galaxy, ancient systems flickered to life. Forgotten ships began to move. The Ark's signal had reached them. Worlds thought lost, memories long buried, and at the center of it all was Rayan, standing on the bridge of his ship with Ira beside him. They weren't alone anymore. All systems synced, Ira said. The Ark's fleet is following our coordinates. Rayan looked at the screen. Dozens of ships, some built by long dead, species, others by civilizations Earth had never even heard of, were aligning behind them. The Guardian swarm was already moving. Their network had awakened. They came like a black tide, consuming stars in their path. Ira placed her hand over the glowing shard in the control panel. This will be the final battle, she said softly. If we lose, the Ark will fall. Memory itself will die. Rayan nodded. And if we win, then the promise I made all those years ago will finally mean something. She looked at him. You remembered me? I never forgot, he replied. Their ship led the fleet forward, into the heart of the Guardian storm. The battle began instantly. The Ark's ships clashed with the black swarm in bursts of fire and light. Strange weapons fired from both sides. Beams of memory, shields of time, missiles that phased through space. Rayan maneuvered through the chaos, his mind calm. He was no longer just a boy chasing a dream. He was a commander now, a man who had followed a promise across the stars. A Guardian flagship appeared ahead. Massive, towering, it blocked the path to the core of their network, the signal that controlled them all. That's the control mind, Ira said. We destroy it, and the others fall. Rayan nodded. Then we fly straight through. They activated the shard's core energy, light from the Ark itself. Their ship shimmered, passing through the Guardian fire like a ghost. Inside, the flagship, It was like flying through a living nightmare. The walls were made of moving black metal. Screams echoed from every corridor. Voices stolen from fallen civilizations. Ira guided them to the center, a massive control node surrounded by a glowing web of neural energy. Rayan aimed the ship's final payload, the beacon memory core. It's not a weapon, he realized. It's truth. Era nodded. That's all the Guardians fear, reminders of what they were. They launched the core. It hit the control node and released everything. The truth of Era's people, the betrayal, the broken promise of protection, and the bond between a boy and an alien girl under twin moons. The Guardian flagship began to break apart. The entire swarm trembled. Across the galaxy, black ships stopped. Some exploded, others simply powered down. The war ended in silence. Era closed her eyes. They're gone. Rayan stepped closer. And you? I'm still here, she whispered. And I always will be. They returned to the Ark. The fleet landed in silence. Survivors stepped out, not just from Earth, but from every corner of the galaxy. It was no longer just a memory vault. It was the beginning of something new. A few days later, Alaris 9 under the same twin moons where it all began, Rayan and Era walked through the soft grass. Children played nearby, human and alien. The world had changed, but some things stayed the same. Rayan knelt before her. He pulled out a small silver ring, old, scratched, but polished clean. I promised, he said softly. She smiled. And I'm finally ready to say yes. She took his hand, and for the first time in all the stars, there was peace.